Should we talk about young NHL players?
We should.
Yeah.
The debut last night of Adam Fantilli on his birthday.
Went pretty well.
I did not watch it yesterday. Mario reminded me to watch it today. The Blue Jackets posted an awesome video of Adam Fantilli in, I don't know if it was a meeting room or a movie theater. It looked like a movie theater. And everyone from his life, like, just leaving him messages. And
that was really cool.
They showed his car ride to his first ever hockey game.
That was so cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
He's going to score 1,000 goals.
And guess what? It's okay for another market to have a young, exciting player. We don't have to hate him.
I don't. I hope
Isn't that crazy?
I want Adam Fantilli to do well.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
I bet the over on his 46.5 points this season, but also
he's on my fantasy team in my dynasty league.
Yeah.
But I also want him to do well because having a league full of exciting young good players is good for everybody.
right.
Like, I hope Adam Fantilli is a stud. I hope
Yeah.
Luke Hughes is a stud. I hope Leo Carlson is really good. I hope Logan Cooley is really good. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see that next generation coming through because we're all still dazzled by Ovechkin and Crosby as they now are in the latter half of their careers, chasing history in multiple different ways. We all have the present of Makar and McDavid and McKinnon and Matthews and all the M names that you can imagine. And now you have
Ovechkin.
Mo Ovechkin. And now you have the next gen coming through with the Hughes brothers and the Quinn brothers and the Tkachuk brothers and Connor Bedard and
Stop
Fantilli
talking about Connor
and
Bedard.
all
Oh,
these
my
guys.
God.
Well, you have all these guys coming through. So it's just like, it's exciting.
It is.
I want to see all these young guys do well and carry the game. And you see, with each generation, the evolution, even just in a small sample size, 20 years, the evolution of how players are being marketed and how the game feels. Like when Ovechkin and Crosby came into the league, they were playing a different game than mid-2000s NHL hockey was. And then when Matthews and McDavid came in, they changed the game in the mid-2010s. And now I think we're seeing guys like, Bedard coming in, Jack Hughes, Trevor Zegras. Like, you're seeing now another shift in how the game is playing.
And I want to
it's
give credit
exciting.
to the league, like, finally leaning in on the exciting stuff and
Yes.
the, like, against the code, like the Michigan goal and like those sort of things. Like, you're seeing commercials. I think it's the ESPN one. It says like, this is the new golden age of hockey.
Something like that.
And
yeah.
they're not wrong. Like, you're sitting at home, you click on your ESPN Plus app, and you find a random hockey game. Most nights, you're going to be excited and entertained.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few of those slogs anymore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of offense. There's a lot of scoring. There's a lot of skill. Even on the lesser teams in the league, like the Hawks, like Columbus, they've all got a lot of talent on
Montreal, we're going to see them tomorrow night. They have a lot of good young players.
It's good.
there. Yeah, it's a good thing for the game. So Fantilli last night in his debut picked up an assist, 13:40 of ice time, 2 shots, 2 more shot attempts, another missed shot, had delivered a hit, and went 5 and 5 for 50% of his faceoffs. Very solid debut. I'm surprised he didn't play more. 13:40 is a little low for.
They have.
They're pretty deep though.
Is he what, their third line center?
Because they've been playing line A at center.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Oh, well,
Yeah,
interesting.
It's an interesting thing what's going on in Columbus because, you got Fantilli. You've got another really nice young player in Kent Johnson, but he was a healthy scratch.
It's an interesting choice.
Did Mike Babcock come back all of a sudden? Like, it was weird. And our old
He
friend,
still submitted the lineup.
and our old friend Adam
Stipulation:
Boquist.
don't play that kid.
Adam Boquist was a healthy scratch too. Weird.
Yeah, and we heard that Columbus is trying to move a defenseman.
Frank Saravalli of Daily Faceoff tweeted out the other day that Columbus has an overabundance
While
of
he was
defensemen.
sitting 15 feet
Yeah.
away from us.
You showed me the tweet. They're like, "Hey, Frank." I'm like, "Yeah, don't say anything bad about him too loud because he's sitting right there."
Yeah, I did not see that he was right there.
I literally watched him send that tweet. So yeah, it's interesting things in Columbus. But I hope Fantilli does good. I hope all these young players do good because it's kind of fun because, McDavid and Matthews came into the league a year apart, and like they were the new fresh young things, while Crosby and Ovechkin were like in the prime of their career.
Yeah.
Now, Crosby and Ovechkin are kind of like the old guard.
Mm.
They're still very good players, but they're the old guard. They're the well-respected graybeards that could still get it done. And now McDavid and Matthews are where Crosby and Ovechkin were while this crop is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun. Like, you always need new stuff. And the whole thing about, Bedard, too much Bedard, blow it out your ass already with this nonsense.
Yeah.
Hockey fans are the only people in the world that complain when they get attention.
Yeah.
No other sport do their fans say, you're showing Pat Mahomes too much. You're showing Steph Curry too much.
Yeah, right.
You're showing Mike Trout too much. Like, hockey fans want to just be this, like, no one knew. It's just us. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it already. Marketing Connor Bedard is great for the league. And I know there's a lot of other fan bases that hate the Blackhawks. And that's fine. Hate the Blackhawks. Hate whoever you want. It's your choice. But don't hate Connor Bedard, a great kid and a great hockey player, just because he plays for a team you don't like. I don't like the Columbus Blue Jackets, but I like Adam Fantilli. You know, it's fine. You can cheer for a player and hope the team still sucks.
Right.
Yeah, both things can happen.
That's true. Yeah,
But I don't understand all the complaining. And here's the funny part. You get other podcasts that complain about Connor Bedard. I don't want to talk about, but then all they do is talk about him.
it's hard to escape him
Because you know why?
because he's really good.
Connor Bedard is ratings.
Ratings.
People want to hear and watch Connor Bedard. As we saw, the ratings for Tuesday night's game, the highest rated regular season game in NHL history.
On ESPN. That wasn't a Winter Classic.
Right. And then the next night, he
Sa-
set the same record for TNT.
Yep.
So the highest watch game, regular season, non-Winter Classic game in ESPN history was Connor Bedard's debut. The highest watch game in TNT's regular season history, non-Winter Classic, Connor Bedard's second game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what those ratings are. Hockey night in Canada on Saturday night.
Right.
And that means that the league is doing a good job of promoting its young players.
Yes.
And look, like Bedard has probably unprecedented coverage as a draft pick, right? You had high-profile teams tanking to try to get him. He was great at the World Juniors. Yeah. He is incredibly marketable before he's even drafted. Like, they've got a little bit of a head start with him, but everybody in hockey is talking about this kid. And even if they're talking bad, and if they're, I'm so sick of this guy, you're still talking about it.
Yeah.
You're still talking about it, and it's a good thing.
watching.
It's good for the game.
You're still tweeting about him. You're still giving him attention. You're still giving the league attention.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the next time a superstar helps the Columbus Blue Jackets do good, that gets the salary cap raised a couple $1 million a year, or the Arizona Coyotes player helps the salary cap, let me know when that happens next time.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me know if that ever happens.
The way that the league is jumping on Connor Bedard would have happened no matter what market he was going to. If it had been Anaheim, if it had been Columbus, if it had been, imagine if he was in Montreal, if it had been any market, he was going to get this attention because of the quality of player and prospect that he is.
In person, by the way.
They
know that he is a safe
kid.
person to invest in.
Yeah, and the fact that he's in Chicago is just kind of, for the league, the cherry on top, because it is a huge market, and you're going to have so many. It is a recent fan base that has had a ton of success and a lot of following, and it's just good for the league. And you can't say the league needs to market their stars better, and then when they do jump on Bedard and show all of his highlights and be like, this is the future of the league, be like, no, get this off my screen. You can't have it both ways. Either the special players are special or no one's special. And with Bedard, he's shown so far that he can be a special player and special prospect. When you have a show like the Pat McAfee show, however you feel about him, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but his reach is undeniable and his impact in the sports world is undeniable. When you have him on consecutive days featuring Connor Bedard and featuring the Blackhawks, that's great for not only the Blackhawks, but great for the league too, because how much airtime does ESPN or anybody else give the NHL when it's not a scheduled NHL show? Not a ton. PK Subban was on First Take talking about Bedard. Like, the fact that this is putting hockey on bigger scales, bigger platforms is just great across the board because it ups the visibility. It brings in new fans, even as casuals, brings in more money. The salary cap can go up. And now you're not talking about potentially teams having to sell off all these players because they can't afford them anymore after having success. So a team like Denver or a team like the Avalanche should be thrilled that the league is getting this kind of attention because now they just signed Devin Tays to a big contract. They can keep that contending core likely together longer because the cap will have bigger jumps. It's just good for the league across the board.
Look at how many teams have started this year without a full 23-man roster. Look at Edmonton and Vancouver both played with 17 skaters the other night. 11 because they had to be salary cap compliant. Ottawa got a lot of their young players wrapped up for a long time. Buffalo. They've done, but you can't tell me you can't sit there and be an Ottawa Senators fan and be worried about what's it going to look like in 5 years from now. You know, when we've got all these guys signed up and we want to keep some of these young guys together, well, then you should be pumping every Connor Bedard video out there because more fans he brings in means the more the salary cap could go up and you can keep your young teams together. You know, it's a trickle-down effect that is good for all 32 teams in the league. And I don't understand how hockey fans are just so... I love this sport, but nobody else can watch it. It's ours and ours only. No, I want hockey to be just as big as the NBA. I want it to be just as big as the NFL.
And this is how you do it.
This is exactly how you do it. And to say you love the sport of hockey, but then you don't want it to get any bigger, why would you want to continue to be the butt of the jokes of all the other three sporting leagues?
Right.
Get bigger, get better, get more exciting, bring in more fans. I don't care if you got people at a hockey game that don't know what icing is. They'll learn it.
They'll learn.
I don't care that they don't know the intricacies of junior hockey and they just want to see goals and they want to see a fight. That's great because you know what? Their money's green too. Take it.
And guess what? Everyone started there.
Yes.
Right, exactly. And look at what, and I know someone on this panel is not going to like this, but look at what Taylor Swift being involved in the NFL has done.
I was just about to say that.
Yes.
It's great for the league.
How many new
I'm
fans?
tired of seeing her, but I get it. I get it.
How many people are now becoming aware of the NFL more than they maybe were, becoming fans of football? And on the Kelsey Brothers podcast, I forget what it's called, but they had people who were huge Taylor Swift fans that showed up and sent them questions about football, and they, instead of being like, "Oh, come on," like, you know, poo-pooing it, they actually took time to explain, you know, answer those questions, explain what different rules were. And it's a way to bring in those fans. Instead of saying like, you're just here because of Bedard, get out, you know, you're not a real fan. Welcome them in. Welcome them in. Like, do that. Like, that will make the NHL bigger. Look at what happened with the MLS with bringing in Messi. I know he's not a prospect player, but he's arguably the biggest player on the planet. And the MLS, the money that the league is making and the advertising revenue that they're making is very close to surpassing the NHL. Like, so that should be the reality check for hockey fans, is that as much as you want to say, soccer, blah, 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 the MLS is catching you. You want to be taken, you know, seriously as one of the big four in North America. You have to welcome in those fans. You have to, you know, grow that sport that way.
I heard someone say, too, the other day, I think maybe the reason the Bedard stuff seems more than it did with Matthews and McDavid, I think the Canada-US thing is a factor. Also, when those guys came in, you had a one-network deal with NBC that did sports specifically when it was time for sports. Mm-hmm. Now you've got TNT and ESPN both pumping this as hard as they can. Yeah. You turn on the ESPN app and go to the NHL channel. It is games. It's features. It's like Bedard scores his first goal. Bedard records first assist. Bedard's, you know, all these little like Bedard featurettes, and people are like, oh my God, I can't escape this guy. Mm-hmm. You've got double the coverage with two networks. Yeah. Right. And now you've got at your fingertips. Social media's come a long way since Austin Matthews came into the league. Mm-hmm. I don't know if TikTok even existed then, but you go to like your For You page or whatever it's called on Instagram, and if you follow hockey accounts, every third tile is Connor Bedard, right? Like, it does feel like a lot, but that's, look, if I go to an NFL, if I was as big into football as I'm in hockey, my page would be Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Jefferson from the Vikings. Like, it would just be it's the same thing,
right?
It's the same. When we were in the train on the way to, the tram from terminal to terminal in Pittsburgh, there's a kid sitting next to me, a little kid he had Jefferson on his screensaver on his phone. I'm in Pittsburgh. But it's like that's what it's about. Now, like the way that young people consume the game, it's about individuals. I remember my cousins who are now college age, but like growing up, he had a Tom Brady jersey. Then it was always about he was a fan of the player, not so much the team, right? And that's how young people consume the games these days, right or wrong.
And fandom is shifting that direction a lot, because I think too a lot more fans are now a lot more aware of the inner workings of sports organizations and front offices. And I think when you get into, guys with contract negotiations or trades or how, sales of teams go and stuff like that, like all that news is now being consumed more and more by fans, whereas maybe in the past that was just kind of like not really reported all that much. And I think people are like less and less geared towards, well, I'm going to support this team and the organization, because then it kind of feels like, well, I'm just supporting, a big company rather than the athletes and the players. So I think a lot of a generational change is becoming more of, I want to follow what player X does in their career rather than I'm just going to strictly be, a Blackhawks fan or a Cubs fan or whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely more of a gravitation of being fans of individual players and entire teams.
Yeah.
But that also has to do with the fact that you can watch any team you want at any time.
Yeah.
There's access
Yep.
to any game at any time. If you've got the right app, you're willing to spend the money, you can watch any player you want instantly on your phone, in your house, whatever. When we were growing up,
On the toilet.
that's where I do a lot of my watching. When we were growing up, it was the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever the 3:00 game CBS told us we were going to watch, that's what we were going to watch. So you became fans of your local team because that's all you saw.
That's all you got.
Except for Monday Night Football or, the game of the week, the NBC Saturday afternoon MLB game of the week.
Yeah.
You only saw your local teams. Now, the way sports are covered, it's 24/7, and it's every team is out there, so you like the player more than the teams. At least that's what the kids do.
Well, and just a little side note too is, not that we need to get into all this, but like, is people wonder like, why don't people care about All-Star games anymore? Because of what you just said.
I could see.
I can watch any player at any time, all the time.
I don't need the
Right,
All-Star.
yeah.
The All-Star games as a kid, I loved the MLB All-Star game as a kid because you got to see all the best players. NHL All-Star game as a kid was great. Now it's like
I see them all the time.
and the MLB All-Star game was different because it was American League National League. That only happened in the World Series. Now,
Right.
you've got that every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, and with free agency, guys are moving all over the place. But yeah, that's an off.
Can we scroll to the Glenn Quagmire question from the_Giggities? That's great. I love that. It says also too, what helps is Bedard is literally facing teams with Hall of Fame guys and the original 6 teams. That's not by mistake either.
No.
Opening night against Crosby, not a mistake. Playing in Boston
Centennial.
for their centennial,
Yeah.
not a mistake. Getting Hockey Night in Canada in Montreal, and then the next game is in Toronto, not a mistake.
then
And
the
then putting them
Avalanche.
in Denver to
and then
take on
who's
the
home
Avalanche.
opener against?
Oh, it's the defending Stanley Cup
Exactly.
champions. Not a mistake at
all
all. The
done on
league
purpose.
the league is doing this perfectly.
It's a masterful job by the NHL.
perfectly.
I've never said that in my life.
Right. There's very few things the league does perfectly.
And this one,
this is one of them.
Yeah.
We all silly like the mayor.